Hi guys, it's Denise Reed and welcome back to my channel Bramble Reed. So this week I'm going to show you how to make papier-mâché out of newspaper, and also we're going to get ready for our next dupe, which will be taking that shredded newspaper that you have and making a clay. If you don't know what to do with your shredded paper, I will show you how to take 2 ingredients and make a 2-ingredient papier-mâché. For the best creative DIY and fashion content, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you hit that bell so that you're notified when I post a video every Tuesday. I have a Facebook page that is dedicated to DIY crafts and fashion for you to join. Now it's your turn. Today we're going to make papier-mâché paste, but I've done 2 bowls so that next week we can actually make papier-mâché clay. Now what you're going to do is shred some paper, use a newspaper, make sure that you don't use the shiny paper, you have to use real newspaper, and you're going to shred it, put it in a bowl and cover it with hot water, making sure that you leave at least about 1/4 of an inch so that once the paper rises that it's still covering. And you're going to do that with both bowls. Remember, it doesn't really matter how much water you put inside of it because we're going to essentially drain that out. We're going to let this sit for 24 hours and then we're going to finish the process tomorrow. So we let the shredded paper sit overnight. Both of them were the boiled water. What I did with this one was I washed it twice to see whether or not I can drain out some of the color, and then this one here, and this looks like the mush that we need. We want it the paper broken down. And then this one here, I did not wash it, so it kind of still looks the same. So we're going to blend it and see if we can get it smoother. Today my daughter is with us, so she's going to help us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the water level the way it is, and then we're going to blend it so that it goes really pulpy. And then we'll drain the water out and I'll show you the process at that time. Okay guys, so we finished blending and here's the consistency that you're going to want. And now what we're going to do is we're going to remove some of the water, and all I'm going to do is we're going to squeeze like that. Now when you're removing the water, you don't want it dry so that it takes the shape that it was before. You want so that there's just a little bit of water in there, because we're going to add flour to this particular batch because we want to do the restoration hardware dupe. Just take out a little bit of water. So guys, here's a tip that I did. In order for me to get 2 tones without adding dye or paint to my mix, I actually washed my papier-mâché. Once I saw the red dye coming out and it was finished, I actually washed it. And I washed the red dye out, which left gray. So I have 1 red, 1 gray without having to add anything to it. For the ingredients for this one, I'm going to use table salt because I'm going to see how long it will last, or at least if it can stay a couple of days. And then you're supposed to use flour, but we have this cake pastry flour that I want to see if I'm able to use it and if it will work. I do have 3 batches of the paper clay that I want to make, so I'm going to do 1 batch with this. Now the table salt is to preserve it, and then the flour is supposed to make it thick. Now after I finish draining a lot of the water out, this is what it looks like. You still see that there is some water that's there, but it's not as watery as it was before. And this still may be a little bit too much water. I might pour out a little bit more, but actually I'm gonna leave it, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna put some salt in, and we got the salt from the dollar store just so that we're not paying a certain amount of money for salt. And we're gonna just put, I put a lot in. Put about that much in. And you're gonna mush this stuff up. I'm gonna put a little bit more table salt in there because no one's eaten it, so it doesn't matter how salty it is, and the salt isn't going to affect the clay. Once we've mushed in our salt, we're going to start working in our flour. Comment down below if you have a lot of shredded paper or newspaper that you want to create. We have some great shredded paper ideas that will be coming up on the channel. Stay tuned. Don't forget, you can't know if you're not notified, so hit the subscribe button and I'll see you next week.
Oh, we're gonna put some. Wow, this feels good.
I added some of the white flour because the pastry flour wasn't giving it that stick that it needed. And right now the white flour is actually doing it. So I'm just going to add a little bit more white flour and then we're almost done. Okay, just make sure you're working it through.
Do that, like with your. Can I show them?
Okay. So you want to be able to make your thing. You should be able to do a shape. So if it's a ball, if it's a straight, you should be able to mold it and it whole.
So this is mine, and I kind of did it round and big, but my mom took it apart.
So I wanted to go over some things that I did wrong with my first batch of paper mache, and it has been a long time since I've done it, so I did forget some stuff. So first, the cake paste did not work. Now I'm not sure if putting equal part cake paste and flour would have worked, but I think it was too dry. Looking at it, you can still see that there's water being squeezed. And the other thing was, I didn't have a hand blender, which ours broke. I threw it out. I wish I wouldn't have because I'd have been able to use it. And so I blended it with the blender and it didn't blend the pulps the way this is. So what I did was I redid my mache mix and I actually used a blender. And so this has been in the refrigerator for 3 days. I did use a lot of salt and you can hear that. That's what you need to hear, because I think that's the trick. When you hear that, that means it's good. If you're not hearing it, that means it's too dry. Now that you know how to make paper mache from newspaper, I have written a 15-page guideline on different designing platforms that you can use to take the creative ideas out of your head and put them on a digital platform. Now I have included a list of tutorials that will help you understand these platforms better. You can download the guide at the link in the description box. Also, are you interested in joining a bunch of creative minds like yourself? I do have my Facebook page where we are going to be sharing creative ideas. You can check out the link in the description box. Check out these reviews next on chalk paint, how to make it with baking soda and did it work, and my other review, air dry porcelain clay out of soap, homemade. Now if you like this video, hit that like button, be sure to subscribe and share the content with your family and friends.